Welcome, ladies and gentlemen of the old world. I hope you're all doing well, and today, my friends, we're back with a showdown between the Dark Elves and Norsca. It's going to be Cybertron Enjoyer facing off against Ulrich Rahl. I believe that's a move hacker, and it is going to be here on Death's Pass. So it's going to be Malekith versus the dreaded Unsummoned Lord, basically to avoid the penalty for their Lord dying. I believe it's probably going to be like a Marauder Chieftain or something in reserve, typically, when you see that playstyle. Now, pretty standard for the Dark Elves. Full battle line of Black Ark Corsair handbows. These guys, of course, very, very good against a number of targets on Norsca. Norsca does have some armor via like Marauder Champions and Famir, but outside of those targets, really, they don't pack a lot of armor. So the Black Ark Corsairs can not only put some hurt on Norscan Berserkers, Marauder Horsemen with their handbows, but also can fight okay against like baseline infantry. Bleak Swords to the back, Malekith the Witch King with Soul Stealer, all that sort of good stuff, and that is going to be it. Now for Ulrich Rahl, he's going to be coming in with a bunch of Marauder Horsemen. And is it going to be Throwing Axe variant? It is going to be Throwing Axe variant. Interesting. So the Throwing Axe variant can do a lot of work against Malekith, but their short range allows them to trade, well, it doesn't allow them to, but it basically makes it so they don't trade super efficiently with handbows. Handbows can, of course, shoot them at equal range. And these guys are going to be taking the receiving end of things, usually from handbows. Now, we do have Norscan Trolls. We have Marauders, Berserkers, so obviously they will outtrade the Druchii infantry. But dealing with the Witch King is one of the hardest things here for sure. Like, if you don't have a combat character like Throg or Wulfric or somebody who can go fisticuffs, Wulfric can't even really go fisticuffs, but Throg can. But Throg is also a huge liability against Dark Elves because of all the shooting. So I certainly understand the tactics of not really bringing a Lord and basically having the Balefiend be your kind of leading character here. Pit of Shades, very, very good. Obviously, you can plop that down on some Corsairs, on Cold One Knights, all that sort of stuff as they do kind of blob up. So we'll do a little bit of fast forwarding while the players posture up and get in position here. We do see the Dark Elves getting their Corsair handbows, being very cautious to kind of edge up, not wanting to overextend into a Norscan Troll Toll trap as these Norscan Trolls do kind of wait. Chariot's pulling back here, and it looks like Ulrich's going to be gathering a Doom Force. He does have a side objective, and he's going to be preparing a push here in the middle. But now we see the Dark Elf summoning out some elite units, so the Blackguard and Nagaron are going to come, and those guys are going to be really nasty. Like, nothing in this Norscan army really feels good against them except the throwing axes, but we'll see if they can get in position. So Norscan Ice Trolls do have a little bit more armor than some Troll variants. They do have 60 armor, but still are going to be paying the Troll Toll against the handbows here. Handbows immediately getting big damage, and you can see those Norscan Trolls are not happy about it at all. As the Bleak Swords do move in, Bleak Swords will, lose the Trolls head-to-head, but they're going to be serving as essentially just a buffer. And we see the Repeater Crossbows, of course, putting good firepower in. So this is just going to be a Royal Rumble in the middle. There's nothing going on to the flanks. Basically just a big central engagement. Nice Gaze of Malice. It did kind of hit a little bit. I think you would want to save that for this blob with the Berserkers. But again, it's a very tense situation. There's a lot going on, so it's easier said than done. Bleak Swords on their way. Malekith Breath Attack, able to really, really pour into that blob of units. The Berserkers, the Marauder Horsemen, all those guys are afflicted by the Noxious Gas, going to be taking a melee attack penalty. Now the Corsair Handbow is going to be scooting back as the Witch King does lend his magical aid to his fellow Druchii here, and there is going to be a big, fat, juicy Soul Stealer going down. But Norsca probably is going to be able to push the Dark Elves off the middle position, and they will be grabbing the objective. But this is kind of the back and forth of this matchup, really. Nice Pit of Shades coming in from Ulrich. It looks like it is going to grab these guys, so it does get them, and will do some pretty substantial damage. Black Ark Corsair handbows aren't like an elite unit, but they're still not cheap either. They almost got those Sisters of Singing Doom that were coming in as well. But Witch King holding it down. Soul Stealers will heal him for 12% of his HP as that does go off here. Corsair handbows on the way back, Marauders chasing them. This is pretty cost effective for Ulrich, I would say. Having just these cheap Marauders just absorb this ammunition is always good, while the Marauder Great Opens are in the secondary row here. But Malekith is a raid boss for sure, and we're seeing Cybertron here. I think it's A-Move Hacker. I believe that's who sent me the replay. We'll just call him A-Move for now. But I think that A-Move is probably in a little bit of a better position. I mean, he's getting a lot of value against the Norscan army, which is overextending a little bit. Norsca probably could have put some side pressure as well over here, trying to get a Berserker, maybe to trade a little bit efficiently, considering that, most of the Dark Elf army is focused here on the middle. However, Dark Elves can respond pretty well to mobility and probably would be able to get reinforcements. So I guess Norsca is just, going to be looking to trade in the front. Another big wind spell coming down, or is that going to be a Pit of Shades? I think that might be another pit. Hard to tell. Yep, Pit of Shades going to be hitting the Corsair handbows. As far as the Dark Elf front line goes, it's going pretty good. Sisters of Singing Doom are an awesome unit because they cause terror. So you just have them in, they can rampage enemy units. They will get rid of any Marauders with leadership issues. You can see the terror routes going down here. These guys will probably be terror routed shortly as well. And the Hellebroni, the most chill of all the bros in the realm, are helping to hold it down. As the Gaze of Malice comes in for the Witch King. More and more firepower as the Dark Elves do start to stabilize their backfield. Pretty classic. Norsca will often, have to overextend to get into your missile line. And now, a Manticore going in after Witch Elves. Probably not going to be great. If that Manticore does get rampaged, it's going to get just absolutely pounded by all this firepower. And it looks like good control there from Ulrich. He is able to kind of juke and pull that thing back. before it does get rampaged to its doom by these Witch Elves. Now, Sisters of Singing Doom, still grinding away against the Icehorn Marauders. Icehorn Marauders probably trade reasonably well into them, but again, the big X factor is going to be the Witch King up in the sky, and you can see that A-move is a little bit ahead in terms of value by about 2,000, and on top of that, Malekith has been healing, so probably a little bit of a double-edged sword here as the forces of the Dark Elves continue to just pour massive firepower in, repeater crossbows, and one of my favorite units on the Dark Elf roster are the Blackguard. I've often felt I would really like to do a Dark Elf army in tabletop. I don't think they're terribly difficult to paint. Granted, they do have a lot of trim as well, but got to figure out what armies I want to do for the old world. But yeah, probably got to get a Chaos army in there as well. Already got the Empire. Witch Elves battling Feral Manticores here. Malekith the Witch King still just playing very defensively, guarding his missile pieces, obviously yielding a little bit of value in terms of objectives to Norsca, but trading it for army value, which I think is going to be the way to go. Malekith jumping in once again. And this is kind of the thing I run into. Like, I've tried to deal with Malekith in a couple matchups, like with Chaos-centric factions like Khorne, using Marauder Horsemen, but I always find that they just like can't quite get enough damage on him and get that good concave, because the Dark Elves always have this like supporting fire that can really push you back, and it just doesn't seem to be enough DPS. And here you can see that's kind of the case, as Malekith just doesn't really care. He's just absorbing it like a champ. We do have more of the Blackfire Corsair Handbows shooting into those units, and that's what's really good about Corsair Handbows. Like, normally Chaos just gets a hard-on to dive your missiles with their horsemen, but that's not going to work against Dark Elf Corsairs because they themselves are armored and pretty good in combat, so they can easily fight off Marauder Horsemen and will take like no damage in doing so. Good Gaze of Malice right here. That was a beauty. Tearing through those units, although it didn't do as much as I thought it did. I guess they don't have like super high model count. But it looks like Malekith's going to be dropping a Soul Stealer. A little bit of an awkward summon there, or cast I should say. Not going to be hitting too many units, but again, as long as it heals him for 12% of his HP, Malekith is going to be happy. You know, his mom, Marathi, will give him a nice pat on the back for his good grades in school, and all will be well. So Marauder Horsemen here, still battling Blackguard, and the Witch Elves able to rampage them. That's a pretty good feel-good feeling here. And on the other side, we do see the Norscan Ice Trolls being routed down by Cold Wind Knights. Cold Wind Knights are a pretty good unit. I don't know if they got the same changes. Yeah, they did, where when they do Rampage now, they basically just get a buff. So that did help the Lizardman Cav quite a bit. And the Blackguard here are going to be getting unsummoned as the Dark Elves do move up, and really I don't see too many avenues for the Norscans to get back in the game. It's a 11,000 value to 7.4, so certainly going to be favoring Malekith the Witch King and company here, as the Marauder Horseman Throwing Axes trying their best to skirmish value, but this is, I think, what makes Dark Elves. I think Corsair units and Malekith himself are just so strong. Marathi is good too. Her debuffs are quite nice, but Malekith just, in terms of having such a nice anchor piece that synergizes super well with the playstyle of the Dark Elves in general, is really nice. Like, if Marathi gets trapped, she's often dead because she doesn't have the mass to escape, but he has the healing, the Gaze of Malice for crowd clearing, and of course is a pretty good combatant as well. So see if the Norsca can kind of muster some sort of a push here. We do get Cold Wind Knights coming around the side, and it looks like the Norscans are going to go in for one final push. Are they going to be able to get the value back? I seriously doubt it. The Dark Elves do have double Masters here, which is another kind of cool tech piece against the Norscans. And if they have Skin Wolves, they have Trolls, they have Wolfric, Throg, like the Masters have a lot of applications against Norsca, and they themselves are armor piercing. So if your opponent comes in with like Marauder Champions and things like that, they can do pretty well. Kind of makes me wonder about the application as well of Marauder Champions in this matchup. You can see the Dark Elf player outside of the Dark Rider Repeater Crossbows, which you could potentially deal with some sort of magic. There's not that much armor piercing in the Dark Elf build. Granted, I feel like Malekith with his Dragon Breath attacks and the dragon itself would probably be enough to deal with them, so I don't know, maybe it's just a little bit of a funky idea. But the dragon, the Witch King, is here. He's going to be landing on these bad boys, and they are going to be paying the ultimate price. As now we see a triple cap coming in, Dark Elf Cav on the flanks, two of the Skin Wolves going to be maneuvering over, but honestly, they'll take a pretty terrible trade here. I think two Skin Wolves could probably beat one Cold Wind Knight, but it would be a big upwards trade for the Cold Wind Knights for sure. And like, look at this. The rest of the army here for the Norscans is pretty bare. I mean, we see 5 Marauder Horsemen, the classic sweaty competitive unit. The Marauder Horsemen are basically like the war wagons of Norsca, right? Just like that staple that you kind of need in most of your builds. The Cold Wind Knights here do get a little bit trapped up. Okay, Beast of Tashnar came in, obviously made that very one-sided with the triples around there, but in the middle, like, these guys are all just getting absolutely wrecked by the Dark Elf forces. Now, sometimes it can happen where Malekith, and Malekith is like one of the only pieces left, and the Dark Elves can, not be able to cover all their bases in terms of objectives. But we see Corsairs, we see some Bleak Swords guarding back there. Nice Soul Stealer there, going to be bringing Malekith back up to full health here as the Horsemen continue to ride around. Nice micro from Ulrich. Clearly, he's a top player. I believe he's in the top 16 right now. Very, very strong player. A-Move Hacker, of course, showing he's got some mastery over the Dark Elves as well. As the Dread Spear is holding back, just good juking back and forth. Classic Warhammer competitive fundamentals. And we see the Corsair Handbows continuing to shoot. Pit of Shades does miss there, so that's going to hurt pretty bad. Malekith landing on the ground. A little bit of a, what do they call that? The Auction House commentary. It's always my favorite. But the Pit of Shades Master is back. The Bale Fiend and Norsca looking to wrestle that objective. I mean, it's not outside the realm of possibility. The Dark Elves have just passed them in terms of score, so they'll win the game in about 4 minutes if they manage to hold on to the objectives. But I can totally see the forces of Norsca tapping out if they lose this battle. But if they manage to kind of get some sort of a pushback here, and they are closing it, I mean, it's 12 to 14.4 now, so not the worst in the world. Decent little pit of shades there, scroll of power going down to decrease the cooldowns to get the double pit. Kind of a cool tech, you don't see that terribly often. But the Dread Spheres just pushing up and buffering these units off. Malekith not quite healing capped yet. And taking a look at the Winds of Magic, it looks like he's out of Winds of Magic. So Malekith is not going to be getting any more Soul Stealers. Granted, his Terror Routes are still very much on the table. Manticore's on their way in, and the Dark Elves, yeah, I felt like there was like a bit of a lapse in something, like he forgot to summon units, and it looks like that was the case. We're going to be getting Witch Elves, Blackguard, and the Sisters of Singing Doom coming up. I don't think there's going to be enough for Norsca to stop that. I mean, they have their own janky Marauders coming in, but that's probably going to be game blouses, as the Cold One Knights are valiantly holding back these Skin Wolves, as well as Ephrael Manticore, still taking some Javelin Fire. Ulrich Rahl is showing why he's a top player, right? Like, playing really far from behind, still managing to pull the value back and make a game of it. Currently, it's 1077 to 993. Sisters of Singing Doom are going to be on their way up, and they're going to be rampaging some good quality units here. Granted, they don't want to be fighting Marauders, and they also don't want to be eating Javelins to the face. The Blackguard are really going to be the difficult thing to remove. It depends. Looking at Winds of Magic for Ulrich, he's got one more Pit of Shades. He's got to make this one count, and maybe he will. Nice Pit of Shades, man. Such a scrappy player. And is he going to get the kill on these guys? It's doing a lot of damage, for sure. I mean, that's about as good as it gets. Of course, our Handbow's on their way over, and okay, this is getting a little bit tumultuous here for the Dark Elves. They never got that side cap, and oh my god, are we going to be seeing a Norscan comeback here? That would be absolute lunacy. I don't know, Malekith's looking a little bit beat up as well. He's got about 2,400 value, being attacked by the Manticore. No more Winds of Magic. Big throwing axe for, finally, that must have been very cathartic for Ulrich. He finally got the hit on Malekith here, but Malekith wants to get back. He's going to want to get the Terror Route kind of applying as he's nearby without him obviously getting karate chopped. He's got about 1,100 HP. Blackguard are holding on, and Norsca does get the objective back, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, I really didn't think they were going to be able to do that. And this is why I don't watch replays before I cast them. If they come from players I know who are, you know, top tier players, I like to be surprised as well, because really, I just thought this game was going to be over. I was like, all right, well, I guess we can fast forward through this phase, but then suddenly Norsca's just back with a vengeance. And the value, guys, is 16.4 to 16.4. Oh my goodness. Blackguard moving up. The Dread Sphere's on their way. Masters with the anti-large bonus into the Skin Wolves. I think they will do pretty well in sustained grinding. We got some Witch Elves here. The back cap is essential. You see some Cold One Knights moving over there, and I don't know what the response is going to be from the forces of Norsca. Norsca obviously battling against the entrenched Dark Elves here in the middle. We see the Femir Balefiend getting shanked a little bit by the Master and trying to escape. Malekith the Witch King, was he unsummoned? It looks like he's going to be chased off the map, and the Lord fleeing penalty is not a small deal here, as Malekith is able to escape. Side point going to be taken by the forces of the Dark Elves, which is so clutch. Cold One Knights coming over, repeater crossbows. They really, really need to get this. This is really big, because the middle might actually be a little bit hard. I mean, Norscan infantry do have the rage mechanic, so these guys do get leadership and physical resist as they fight longer, making them a little bit of a tougher unit to remove than basic Chaos Marauders. And look at this, good play here from A-Move. He's basically blocking Norsca from getting onto the objective, whilst also keeping his own units on the point. And is he going to get the capture weight? The Dark Riders are able to hold back the Norscan swarm, and the objective is taken. Oh my goodness, 1252 to 1248. This is so close. Norsca coming over with a bunch of units, but the middle is also swinging back to the Dark Elves as well. So the units that we kind of saw moving in earlier, the Blackguard able to get about 1,700 value over the course of the game. Sisters of Singing Doom are going to be lending a Terror Route, which is going to be turbo useful. And it looks like it could be a Dark Elf triple cap. Man, what a crazy, crazy comeback from Norsca, though. I totally thought they were toast, and I think at this point, it's probably safe to say that Norsca's in a little bit of danger. With the double cap going on, and it's going to take them a hot minute to get rid of these Cold One Knights here. They will get through eventually, but it's going to take a moment, and the Cold One Knights will be able to rout off a couple of those units, and it's kind of getting danger close to the point where, especially if the Dark Elves get middle. If Dark Elves get middle, it's basically over. Norsca trying to fight. The capture weight is really, really close here, but it looks like no. All these units piling on are just going to absolutely steamroll that. That was actually objective 1, but the capture weight was close. I was misreading that. But here in the middle, Dark Elves have just a huge, huge torrential amount of units. We see the old Sisters of Singing Doom causing some Terror Routes, which is nice. Dread Spheres got their shanks and their good stats, led by the dreaded Dark Elf Master, who's able to kind of fend off the Norscans. And that was a great game. Dark Elves, obviously, very, very strong faction. If you guys are fans of Elves and you want to be really competitive in domination, probably also in land battles, Dark Elves are a great faction to play. They have some good fundamentals, some really good core units that are, I would say, easier to use than some other factions, like Corsair Handbows are pretty intuitive about how they play, but that is going to be GG well played. There's no way Norsca's going to have time to get these objectives back, and ladies and gentlemen, what a great game. Well played to both champs. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one as well. That was a lot of fun. I certainly did. So Malekith, a beast as always. Ran out of Winds Magic, still got 2,400 value with his Soul Stealers. Had a couple Soul Stealers that weren't amazing, but Corsair Handbows are just so good in this matchup. 1,300 value, 1,200 value, 1,200 value, so good. Masters didn't do badly. That's kind of an interesting tech. I can see the applications. Norsca does have a fair amount of large, and they could come in with like a Mammoth too. It's a little bit risky against Dark Elves, but I feel like maybe if Norscan players kind of teched for more armor, it could catch Dark Elves a little bit off guard. I mean, the only armor piercing he had really was the Black Guard in these two and the Cold Moon Knight, so maybe. Although I guess it seems like A-Move covered his base as well. I mean, he had a lot of anti-large there, I guess. GG, well played. Hopefully you guys enjoy the one. See you next time, and that is going to be it for today.